Rempel Maximum, the story of Joe and Rich. How can your life really be different if you focus on maximum wealth building principles? So it's not about the money, it's about your life. So this story is an extreme version, it is extreme, of the life of an ordinary person managing his money exceptionally. I could just show you how different things could possibly be. Now the concepts are in my last post, the Rempel Maximum 5 Steps to Becoming a Multi-Millionaire. All right, the story of Joe and Rich. So Joe and Rich were childhood buddies, graduated from university at 22, worked together at the same salary, and both saved $10,000 per year until they retired at 65. They both saved 20% down to buy a $400,000 home, but they are not the same. Joe is a conventional guy. Rich read all about the Rempel Maximum wealth building process and committed to doing it to the maximum. He wanted to try to live an exceptional life. So Joe valued safety, just wanted everything low risk. Rich valued freedom, the freedom to live the exceptional life he wants. So Joe used conventional methods. You'll recognize it's just kind of what everybody does. So he invested in a conservative, balanced portfolio, making a 5% return, bought his home at 29, retired at 65, with $963,000 in investments. He retired reasonably comfortably on $55,000 per year with a middle-class lifestyle. Joe loved traveling, but was satisfied taking just a couple trips a year. That's all he could afford. Now, the road to freedom. So let's talk about Rich's life. So Rich wanted an exceptional life. What did he do? So he wanted financial freedom, but also self-confidence and security from having a huge net worth. He decided to build the largest investment portfolio he could. So he started by investing more aggressively with 100% equities, making 8% return over time. He saw the evidence that stocks provided more consistent long-term growth than bonds or cash. He was determined to avoid what they call the last decade risk. So that's the traditional slow and steady wealth building means that the vast majority of the investments most people have during their working years are in the last few years before they retire. So with traditional methods, one bad decade just before you retire can ruin your retirement. So Rich wanted a large portfolio while he's young, not just the last few years before retiring. Every year he borrowed to invest as much as he could qualify for. Initially, his only option was a 3-for-1 loan on the amount he had invested. So he invested $10,000 savings plus $30,000 from a loan every year. The loan was a no-margin call loan, so he would not be forced to sell if the investments declined. When he bought his home, he did the Smith Maneuver strategy to invest more without using his cash flow. As his mortgage was paid down, he borrowed the same amount to invest, which slowly converted his mortgage into a tax-deductible credit line. The Smith Maneuver helped Rich with his broader strategy of maximizing maximum wealth building. He found he could use the investments from the Smith Maneuver to qualify for a larger investment loan. So every year or two, he increased his investment loan to the maximum he qualified for. His higher net worth gave him more options. So every year he saved $10,000 and borrowed $14,500 from his secured credit line and increased his investment loan by $74,000. That's 3 times those two amounts. His investment loan was getting large, but his focus was on his net worth, which was rising faster. Rich invested very tax efficiently, trying to defer all the tax on the growth of his investments. He invested for long term, not for income. Meanwhile, he claimed large interest deductions every year on the investment loans and the investment credit line on his home. He reinvested all his tax refunds. Rich retired at 65 with a portfolio of $12.9 million. So he owed $2.5 million on his investment loans, which gave him a net worth of $10.4 million. So not including his home. So his large portfolio gave him a retirement income of $535,000 per year. So see how much better that is than his buddy Joe, who had exactly the same income and did things conventionally. He felt very confident with his high net worth. He owed a lot of money but was comfortable with it. He did not want to sell any investments to pay off the loan, so he kept it right through his retirement. He paid $101,000 per year of tax-deductible interest every year during retirement, but could easily make those payments from his high income. He was glad to still have a large tax deduction after he retired, which most seniors don't. He still had $435,000 to spend every year. He considered slowly paying off his investment loan during his retirement so that he could die debt-free. In the end, he decided to let his estate pay off the loan. He did not want to leave a large inheritance, preferring to enjoy his retirement to do something meaningful with his life. Throughout his life, he always had faith that his investments would grow long-term, patience to wait, and discipline to stick with his plan. The life of freedom. So Rich lived exceptionally well, traveling extensively, taking long trips to several new places every year. He always invited friends or family to join him on his vacations. He was a long-suffering Toronto sports fan with season tickets to the Leafs, Raptors, Jays, and Argos, as well as the theater. He bought a nice cottage on the lake, mostly for his extended family to hang out together. He sold some investments and paid cash to buy the cottage, then immediately borrowed 75% back to invest to minimize the effect on his portfolio. Rich knew many people that had suffered from cancer, so he made very large donations every year for cancer, several other charities that were meaningful for him. He felt proud to have several charities mention his name on commemorative plaques. From Bill Gates, he got the idea to set up the Rich's Charitable Foundation, which would outlive him by many decades, continue to support the charities important to him. Rich's huge portfolio gave him such a great feeling of self-confidence and security. His life was full of great options and he loved the freedom. So more valuable to him, though, was that he felt he was an inspiration to his family and friends as to what one ordinary man can do just by managing his money exceptionally. Now, what's the point of the story? This story is a really extreme illustration only of the principles of my last post, Rempel Maximum, 5 Steps to Becoming a Multi-Millionaire. So the Rempel Maximum is a process to build as much wealth as you can in a solid, reliable way. It's best to think of the Rempel Maximum as a concept, a set of tools, not a recipe. Do none of it a bit or the amount you're comfortable with that will give you the life you want. It can include a variety of tax and investment strategies. You can choose which of these tools makes sense for you and how big or small to go. A quick caveat, doing these things to the maximum is probably not for you. It's only for the perhaps 3 to 5% of people that are aggressive wealth builders, have a high risk tolerance, and are highly motivated to become wealthy. Even these wealth builders probably should not push it to the maximum. Why build wealth? It's not about the money, it's about your life. So the benefits of being wealthy are hard to put into words until you get there. There's the obvious great lifestyle, but the emotional benefits are more important. Security, freedom, self-confidence, these are priceless. Thanks for listening. My name is Ed Rempel. My blog is Unconventional Wisdom. It's the .1 blog for a full-service financial planner in Canada. It's just edrempel.com or unconventionalwisdom.ca. Unconventional Wisdom is only the .ca because we're in Canada. If you're interested in a free 30-minute consultation to see if it makes sense for us to work together, you can just go to edrempel.com/talk. If you subscribe to my blog, podcast, and YouTube, all that means is you get an email once a week with my next post. We don't market any other way. My podcast is edrempel.com/listen. YouTube is edrempel.com/watch. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.